Here are some non-fiction books which are very powerful, that they include the lives that people have lived, the ideas that they fought for, and also the lessons that they have learned. So basically this list includes memoirs, politics, philosophy, and also essays that will make you look at life differently. So hello, my name is Sahiti and welcome back to my channel, and I hope you're all doing great. The main goal of this video is to share the non-fiction books which have at least changed my life, and I hope by the end of the video you find at least one book which you would try to read and end up falling in love with it. So the first one is The Clothing of Books by Jhumpa Lahiri, and this is the smallest book on this list, and it is around 75 pages, but it has such an interesting idea. So in this book, Jhumpa Lahiri basically explores the relationship between books and their covers. So she also talks about how the covers can influence the reads and how the authors feel about the cover, and also how cover can become a part of the book's identity. And this is my first Jhumpa Lahiri's book I've ever read. I've been wanting to read her book for a while, like any of her books I just wanted to try, but I never expected to read this book as the first book of this author. But nevertheless, her writing felt really good and it was very easy and fast paced. If you want to try Jhumpa Lahiri's writing, I think this is a great place to start, and the cover of this book is really good. This is a hardcover book, under 100 pages. This is a really good book to read. This is also a beautiful reflection of how the publishing industry works and how the covers get selected and everything. If you are someone who's interested to not just read about stories but also what shapes them or how they are made and everything surrounding books, then this is such a great pick. Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast by Oscar Wilde. This is a collection of Oscar Wilde's humor and his sharp observations on society. This book is really fast paced because it basically contains all his one-liners and his thoughts and observations written into as quotes. If you know about Oscar Wilde, then you know about his signature style that is clever, sarcastic, and full of memorable lines, and this book delivers that perfectly. If you enjoy books that are fun, witty, and also that are very sarcastic and has humor in it, then this is such a great pick. I've been loving Oscar Wilde so much. I've already read 3 of his books and I love 3 of them equally. But this is the only non-fiction book that I've read of his, and that is why I included in this book. And I've also noticed that this book contains some of his writings from the other books. Like I've also read The Picture of Dorian Gray, and I've noticed that some of those lines are also included here. Probably I think this is his diary kind of book where he has written all his thoughts and maybe then used in this books. I'm not sure what's the story behind it. If you know, please let me know in the comments. I think Oscar Wilde is going to be my new favorite author of 2026. I just want to read what he has written about nature. The things of nature do not really belong to us. We should leave them to our children as we have received them. In nature there is, for me at any rate, healing power. One needs misfortunes to live happily. To live in happiness, you must know some unhappiness in life. And coming to my most favorite quote, the secret of life is in art. The supreme object of life is to live. That is nice. And this is the last one. Bad art is a great deal worse than no art at all. Like living in the age of AI, I think this is very relatable. Like doing bad art is actually really important right now than depending on AI for art. So this is really relatable even now, like everything he has written in this book, and that is why this is a classic. The next book is Embroideries, and this is a proof that the non-fiction book doesn't have to be boring or should also follow the traditional format of non-fiction book. This whole book is basically conversations which take place between different women from different generations. The author explores different topics like marriage, personal experiences, and the society's expectations on women through these conversations between these women. This was such an interesting read, and I actually don't have the physical copy because I read this on my Kindle. I think I finished this within a day. This was very fast paced and also interesting. Reading this book literally made me feel like I was sitting with a group of people and listening to them and their personal stories, which were very relatable, funny, uncomfortable. It was like all feelings and emotions combined together, but it will also make you keep thinking. Actually, after reading this book, I got Persepolis, and I've been having this book on my list for the last 1 year. And now after reading that book, I really genuinely was very interested in reading her other work, so I bought it. So probably if I make a part 2, I might add that book there. Letters to a Young Poet. I know that I've spoken about this book a lot, but it is for a reason and for a very good reason, because This read is really powerful but short and also engaging and even relatable to every single person who is probably in the creative side. Even if you're not, this is such a good book. So this book consists of letters written by this author to an young aspiring poet. So in these letters, he talks about self-discovery, loneliness, creativity, and passion. So these letters are written to a poet. Actually, this can be applied for anyone at any stage of their life. If you ever feel uncertain or you don't know how to find your own path, this is the kind of book you have to read. I think actually at this point of my life, I also need to reread this book, and it's been so long since I reread this is probably a sign for even me to read this book. I bet every single person who read this book will actually come back to this book at different stages of their life. Like, you can't read this book only once. A Book of Simple Living by Ruskin Bond. In this book, Ruskin Bond shares small reflections about nature, memories, friendship, life, books, and finding joy in small things too. To be honest, in a world where everything feels really rushed in, this book will be a reminder for you to slow things down. Like, this was a really great book for me to read when I was actually feeling very overwhelmed in life. And don't worry, this book doesn't give you some life examples or advices on how to be happy or like a guide to how to, enjoy life. But it is just a reminder of how you can find joy in such simple things. For example, like reading a good book, going for an evening walk, having a warm cup of coffee, and just snuggling in your bed. These are all, written in a really good way where you will actually be grateful and appreciate the small things which you might not notice when you are actually very busy in life. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, this is going to calm your mind, trust me. I think I've actually annotated and underlined every single page in this book. I am not kidding. Money often costs too much. If you own nothing, you are rich. Money doesn't make people happy, but neither does poverty. The secret then is to have as much as you need, or maybe a little more, and then share what you have. Although I love people and have often made friends with complete strangers, I am also a lover of solitude. Naturally, one thinks better when one is alone. I prefer walking alone to walking with others. This is one of my favorite description of how he has written about nature. A cherry tree bowed down by the night's rain suddenly rights itself, flinging pellets of water in my face. This too is happiness. Sometimes we search for happiness in materialistic things or from other people too. Like, I'm not saying that it's wrong or anything, but sometimes happiness can be, found in really small things which we don't usually notice. So that is why I feel this is going to be such a great reminder when you read it, especially when your life is very overwhelmed or you have too many things on your mind. This book will help you. I am sure about that. Chooses with Morrie, and this is one of those books which will change the way you look at life. So in this book, our author reconnects with his former professor Morrie, who is living with a terminal illness. So through their conversations, Morrie shares his thoughts about love, friendship, life, and what truly matters in life. So this is also one such book which will make you, look at life in a very simple way. And sometimes we are so busy in chasing things which might not be really important for us, while ignoring the things and relationships which actually mean the most for us. And this is also such a powerful read and a reminder for us to concentrate on things which are most important for us rather than chasing things which are not. So yeah, this is such a kind of book. An old man, a young man, and life's greatest lesson. And this is also a book which I've been planning to reread, and I hope I do that by the end of this year. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. By now, every single person knows about this book, and I think most of you also might have read this, if not by choice but by force through school examinations. Even I read Anne Frank first during my English classes. At that time it kind of felt boring because I didn't have that much capacity to grasp what they were telling or what the author was trying to talk. Actually, the author of this book didn't mean to write this as a book, but it was rather a personal diary. Actually, when I first read this book, I was bored for the first 25 pages or so, because it was basically a 13-year-old girl who was writing about her day-to-day life and about her school days, her routines and everything. Obviously that is kind of boring, but the book becomes really special and interesting when she goes into hiding during the Nazis. But what makes this book special is that she was not just writing about history, she was writing about growing up, her dreams, her aspirations, her thoughts. Like, after the 100-page mark, you can see the transformation in her. Like, The way she thinks is just so inspiring and aspirational, and when you know that she just couldn't survive, it's just so heartbreaking. This book is mostly about hope, resilience, and the human's desire to live freely. And this book, oh my god, I just regret not reading it earlier. This is an important read for every single person, and to be grateful for how we are living now and how important it is for a human to have dreams, hopes, and their choice of living. Like, this is such a heartbreaking book, I can assure that. I hope every single one of you have read this book. If not, this is the sign. Becoming by Michelle Obama. So in this book, Michelle Obama shares her journey of her childhood, adulthood, marriage life, motherhood, career, and the journey of her finding her confidence and her career. So basically, it's everything about her journey. Actually, I read this book around 3 to 4 years back, so I exactly don't remember every single thing, but I think this book was very highly engaging because it just doesn't talk only about the positive side, but also she talks about her struggles and the times when she had doubted herself and she questioned herself. So this book is like a whole package. Actually, this is such an inspiring book about ambition, identity, and finding your own path. And also there is a documentary on the same book on Netflix. If you want, you can watch that too. Actually, after reading this book, I also watched the documentary, so yeah, it was totally worth it. These next two books are actually about Indian politics, and I've already spoken about them in this short. If you have watched that, you would have known about this, but I also wanted to include them in this long form video. I think we all know what happened in India in the past few days about the protests which happened against the government and how the students protested and everything. Basically, at this time, no one can say I'm apolitical or I have no knowledge about politics, including myself. As a person who is now starting to, read more about politics and interested in how politics form and the opinions and the history behind our constitution, these two books actually helped me, and hence I thought I can share. The first one is Why I Am an Atheist by Bhagat Singh, and this is a 5-star read for me. This is such a powerful story about, Bhagat Singh's thoughts and his ideas, how he forms them and everything. The lessons he talks about, it is mind-blowing. I think every single Indian should read this book, even if you are apolitical or even if you don't like Bhagat Singh. Actually, I don't believe that if anyone says I don't like Bhagat Singh, because everyone should like him. Like, I'm not forcing anyone, but he is such an inspiration. So this is going to be one of the most powerful philosophical and political essays by an Indian revolutionary. So this book consists of letters he has written to several people during his imprisonment. This is actually a collection of all those letters. He also talks about his religion and why he has changed into an atheist, and that is just one of the letters. There are other letters where he talks about Indian revolutionary and why it is important for young people to read and know about politics and how the youth can shape and how much strong we are and how our opinions and voice do matter. After actually seeing the protests lately on the media and what happened, I actually believe we have such a strong voice and we need to use it for the right reasons. Ambedkar's India by Dr. Ambedkar. So if you want to understand modern politics or the constitution, it is impossible to ignore him. He is the man behind our constitution of India. Every single person should read it. This book consists of just 3 of his speeches which he has given. It explores Ambedkar's ideas and his fight for equality, social justice, education, and his vision for India. Let me just read a line he has written about the Constitution of India. If I find the Constitution being misused, I shall be the first to burn it. I think if Dr. Ambedkar was alive right now and see what is happening around the world, I don't think he is going to be happy. On the 26th of January 1950, India would be a democratic country in the sense that India from the day would have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So we are at the end of the list, and I hope you found at least one book which you felt that you had to read or useful and add to your TBR. And even if you read any of the books from this list and if any of this book is your favorite, do let me know that too. Also, if you have any good recommendations for non-fiction which will actually change my life, I don't want self-help books like Atomic Habits, Psychology of Money, no, not those kind of books, but something where people have lived their experiences and everything. For example, the next 2 books on my TBR are I'm Glad My Mom Died and Persepolis. So I want more book recommendations like that. If you have any interesting book recommendations, do let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching till the end. I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.